Welcome to my channel. This is an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so, and don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll get notified of future videos. Please feel free to share my videos on your social media, and I hope you enjoy the video which follows. A potato reveal. As I said before, I guess the variety is called Superior. Supposedly an early variety, but we're almost into September and the vines are finally died back. This is my third or fourth, I guess, container. And I have 4 left, counting this one. 3 of these, what I call the larger ones, and one that is a grow bag thing. Can't think of what you call that now, but a bit smaller anyway. They're a nice potato, nice flavor, but they are what Brendan on Bacon Soda channel in Ireland, Brendan would call them floury, and that's F-L-O-U-R-Y. Very fluffy, tend to disintegrate if you cut them up and boil them, which is not a good thing to happen, I don't think. I'll just chuck those off to one side there, I guess. I find the best way to cook them is to either steam them or bake them. I don't know if that would change if they were stored as a storage type potato. Would it be different or not? But nice flavor, but I can't say as I care for that aspect of them. You're not seeing what I'm doing at all because I'm throwing them all off on the ground. I'll have to get them all put back together here. But there's decent yield. I mean, each one of these containers I planted 1 seed potato in, because the seed potatoes were enormous. So I know if they're field grown, they certainly grow larger. And what I'm getting in these containers tend to get a lot of tiny ones like you usually get with mini potatoes. Maybe those are small, but I don't tend to get them with the real tiny ones. So I guess everything that was there seems to have developed into a decent sized potato. I guess I only threw 3 on the ground over here. That's probably a little less than I got the last couple of ones that I've emptied. But they will certainly do me for a couple of 3 days anyway. I'll clean them up and show you what they look like. And when I put this video up, I will put the weight on the screen, like I always do, I guess. Well, they do clean up nicely, that's for sure. You should be seeing the weight on the screen there now. They're a decent size, most of them, but they're not as big as the seed potatoes were. The seed potatoes were at least twice the size of that. I was so surprised. I'd never seen such large potatoes used for seed. I bought them at the feed store where I get my grain for the hens. I think I would probably get seed from them next year, and I'll try a different variety. They had a lot of the older varieties that have been grown around this area for many years. Some that I grew 25 or 30 years ago, so I think I'll try some of those again next year. Well, I'm sorry about the potato reveal. I don't seem to be doing a very good job with those this year. I cleaned them, took them up to the house, never had another thought about weighing them. Baked 2 of them, had them for dinner, and then I remembered that I hadn't weighed them. Maybe I'll have better luck next time. Today is the last of August, August 31st, and I've just managed to get out and stick or put pea brush, whatever you want to call it, for my fall peas. One good thing about living on 8.5 acres of property when 7 acres of it at least is nothing but natural forest. No trouble at all finding branches to use for pea brush. I didn't even have to kill a tree. I just took pruning shears and pruned off a limb here, there, and everywhere. At least they now have something to grow up on. I'm still not quite sure I understand what happened there in the center. I mean, there are a few peas that came up there, but it's a big blank spot. And I'm quite sure I put peas everywhere. I don't know, maybe I missed that somehow, I have no idea. But if they continue to grow, and they're supposed to grow waist high, so I don't know, I guess I've got most of those stakes are probably close to 1 meter, so that should more than do, I guess, if we don't get any frost until they bloom and give me some fall peas. As John Cleese would say, now for something completely different, or totally different. This miraculous-looking vessel, I believe, came from the UK. It's going to be laying submarine electric cables between the 3 Fundy Isles here where I live. It's just now docked off of Campobello, or anchored off of Campobello. I don't think they started laying any cable yet. But for a number of weeks, a couple of months or more, we've been on various kinds of generators. The cable that goes between here and Deer Island, that's the island that you see in behind the ship, failed at least 2 months ago, maybe longer. We were on a thing called the Jet, which is over on Grand Manan Island, for a number of weeks. But that thing costs, I heard that thing costs $100,000 a day to run. Anyway, we now have 3 portable generators on Campobello that are fueling this island, and Grand Manan has 7 over there that's fueling Grand Manan, or running Grand Manan for electricity. They're a much larger island, more residents, and more commercial use of power over there, so they needed 7. The island that you can see in the background, Deer Island, has never lost the power. Their power comes across a series of small islands with high lines and to the mainland. So they're still on that main power, but we're hoping to get hooked up soon. And the big treat that goes along with this thing, the cable that they're laying will also have a fiber optic cable attached to it. So there is hope that eventually we will get fiber optic for our internet here. Our internet here is incredibly slow. Well, I just thought I would add this to this video. Interesting little thing. Perhaps today sometime they plan to start laying the cable. It certainly is a calm enough day to be doing it. And I think I read somewhere that it can lay about 1 kilometer a day. And it's not that far between here and Deer Island, but it's probably at least 3 kilometers, maybe more. So it'll take 2 or 3 days for them to lay this section. And then they move to what we call the back of the island. The only people that live out there are a few summer homes. It's very exposed in the wintertime. And lay the cable over to Grand Manan, and I think that's 16 kilometers, I think I read, if I'm correct, between Campobello and Grand Manan. So they've got their work cut out for them. This little bit. So when I see this on the computer screen, if I can read the name on it, I just noticed a flag that they're flying somewhere. It's a red field with a white cross on it, so certainly not the UK flag. I don't know where it's from actually, but it came from somewhere in Europe for sure. In the center of the ship, that sort of cage work that you see, that's where the cable is all spooled. two pieces. The shorter piece they're going to use between here and Deer Island, and the larger piece that goes over to Grand Manan. And up on the bow of the ship, that platform would appear to me to be a helicopter landing pad. But obviously there's no helicopter there, but I guess a helicopter could land if they needed one. This is an aerial view of the ship taken from the company's website. Gives you a much better perspective. I'll look at the spool thing in the middle that is carrying all of the cable, and the thing on the bow, as I suspected, was a helicopter pad. Well, it's 24 hours later. The ship is over on the Deer Island shore, so I assume that means that they have successfully taken the cable across the water. I came out yesterday afternoon to get a little more footage of them getting started, but they were having difficulty finding the end on Campobello. They started high tide for some reason, and there's a cable that's come down through a drill hole through the ledge and rock. That's a cable that they attached to the cable that they're using to pull it through, and they couldn't find it, and it started to rain, so I left. But it looks like they're over at Deer Island, so they must have finished this phase. Well, today was hot and sweet relish day. I didn't do a video of the whole process because I made a video of it last fall, and I'll put a link down below this video to that video. I remember having a comment from somebody who said that because it had cornstarch in it, it should have been canned, and I don't know, and then someone else replied that said almost every Amish recipe has cornstarch in it. Anyway, there we go, we're popping. I survived the entire year and I ate 90% of it myself. But this time I did can them 10 minutes in a hot water bath. So if there was any danger of the cornstarch not being canned, it's now canned. This is a great way to use up some of those overgrown summer squash. Last year I used yellow crookneck, and this year I've used the coccoselli. It's the Italian heirloom squash. I would call it a zucchini, although it does have a bit of a curve in the neck of it, I guess. It's green with white stripes on it. At any rate, I used two of the large overgrown ones. I think the only thing you have to be cautious of there is that they haven't got so large that the skin has become very tough. I find a good test for that is your thumbnail. If your thumbnail goes through the skin easily, then you're all right to use the skin. If it's much tougher, I think I would probably peel it. You wouldn't get so many green flecks in through there, but nevertheless you wouldn't have that unedible hard skin either. And I scooped out the seeds, even though the seeds in mine were quite soft, not really completely formed. So it says 12 cups of the squash. I don't measure it. Whatever I got was what I got out of 2 large overgrown squash. The other ingredients are sort of measured, but I mean they come in various sizes too. Sweet yellow pepper and sweet green peppers, you know, they're not all equal size. And 4 large onions. Well, what does that mean? How large is a large onion? It's all quite forgivable, I guess, is what I'm saying. And I really like the stuff. So if you would take my word for it, give it a try. It's many jars of it have been used this year. And that's the entire production that I got out of the 2 large squash, 6 pints and 1 quart. And there's half a cup or so left over that I refrigerated. I'll test and taste as soon as it cools down. Sunflower that has bloomed yet, but 2 of the giant versions have made it so that they are taller than the cage that the cucumbers are growing in. And on the other side of the cage, I probably can't see them through the, I guess you can sort of make them out. Those are the ones I think are called firecracker. And I do have one of those that's starting to show yellow petals, and they have lots of additional blossom buds. Almost every leaf axil's got another blossom bud coming out. But do we have season enough here for any of those to bloom or not? I don't know. I'm sure the larger blossom on top will all make it out. But will any of the smaller ones continue to grow on before we get frost and have a chance to bloom? Only time will tell, I guess. Well, I'm doing a little harvesting in the hoop house right now. This is the tomato called Bernardo's Paste. I'm going to take at least one. They are enormous for a paste tomato. I'm sure they will be tasty. I think I would leave any of the other ones there for at least another day or so. This is the one that started to ripen first, so it's ready to come off. This one is a Wenzel. I think it's the largest one that I've harvested so far. Oh dear, it's got some damage. I would say slugs or something have been at the... Whoops, I'm not showing you that, am I? Slugs or something have been at the top of it. I will cut that part off and I'll still eat it. I know these things are so good. I've already eaten one, and I've taken one large one into the kitchen at the nursing home from my plot at the community garden. Well, I'm in my beetroot patch, hoping to find enough small beets to have for this dinner this evening. They're starting to develop. They're not exactly huge. Is that in the view? About 4 or 5 like that would be what I would like to see for dinner, so we'll see what we get here. The greens are still in pretty good condition too, so I'll eat the greens as well. I'm always amazed by the people that tell me that they've never eaten the beet greens. I think I like the beet green even more than I like the beets. Well, that's not half bad, I guess. I'll wash these up and show you the final crop here, final harvest. That's not a bad little harvest of tomatoes. Most of them are coal, the smaller ones. Smaller red ones are mostly coal. I think there is 1 or maybe 2 of tribes Tobique in with them. And the yellow ones I think are called Esterina. They're a bush-type tomato, supposedly. All of my bush-type tomatoes this year grew 6 feet tall, so I think there's something wrong there somewhere. They're not really a bush-type tomato, but they're a nice, sweet little yellow cherry tomato. I really like them. And the beets. I'm very pleased with the beets. Those will go very nicely with dinner, along with the greens, once I get them cleaned up and start cooking them. Well, I will say thank you very much for watching at this particular point in the video. I hope you stay tuned and watch the little clips that follow, though. The horseless carriage.